Great ball sent cross. Yeah! Thank you! It is not a dream! Dream, man! Live it up, Blue Boy! Live it up!
Hey, everybody. It's Noise Neighbors Podcast. It is me, Joey McCune, joined as always by Mark Mulvaney. All right, Mulv.
You already know, pal. You already know I'm buzzing.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yes. It's our cup. It's our cup.
Yeah, it is. It's just the Man City Cup now.
That's right. How are you doing?
Renamed. I'm having a good time. I was off today, so just got to revel all night.
Drinking it in. Drinking it in.
I was drinking it in.
Let's get straight into this.
Yeah. We somehow have managed to get a pretty cool guest here again. Not sure how we've done this. I'm not going to babble on too much about it. So I guess here is Manchester-born rock legend Billy Duffy of the Cult.
Gentlemen,
Billy.
gents, thank you.
I don't know why you've
Absolute
agreed
pleasure.
to do this, Billy.
I don't know. I enjoy your show. I've heard your show. Johnny turned me on to your show.
Mutual friend.
Aye, the South Manchester connection.
Love it. Love it. Well, this is our review of yesterday's I don't know if it's a hammering, but it was a comprehensive win over the red side. And we are very pleased to have you join us to look back at that, talk about Manchester City for a bit. We know you. Tell us quickly, is the City run in your family, so to speak, or how did you become a fan?
Yeah. I was pretty much a Blue family. So I was grew up. My dad was a City fan. He was like pre-war era, but he where it was always a little bit more friendly between City and United in the kind of pre-World War II era. But he was pretty vehemently anti-red. I've got to be honest. So I grew up in that in that household, that type of household. And then my brother married a lady who was again from a City family, and they actually were the ones who took me to my first game. So my brother and his fiance at the time dragged me along to see City. I was told it was City Burnley in 1968. I don't remember a thing about it, but from that point on, my dad kind of jumped back into football because I think he drifted off in the 60s because City went through quite a barren patch in the early 60s, I believe, and then the team got rebuilt, and I luckily parachuted in, when they were on the ups.
Very nice, very nice. Well, talking about those old times, it's been a bittersweet week in Manchester City football. For City fans, this week we lost probably our greatest legend, the king of the kip-axe, Colin Bell, passed away this week, and we thought it'd be great to have somebody on the show who dates back to that era. Apparently, you were quite young, so 68. I think you said you would have been about 7 years old if that was your first match. But you would have seen, I think, in probably when you were most in awe of football, early teenage years, you would have seen him in his prime. So, what memories? What memories do you have?
He was the thing was, when you're a kid, you want United had Georgie Best, so we City fans needed somebody, an icon, and it was Colin Bell, who couldn't have been more, a different type of personality, but to say the very least. But I think at the time, that was the shirt when, everybody had number 8 on their shirt, or I certainly did. And I just, he was our, we had a great team of players, but he was like on another level. He was a graceful player. I mean, everybody said, he was amazing. The impact he's had on a lot of people, you know, not just City fans. He's very fondly remembered, for good reason. And you know, I saw him play. You know, I was going pretty frequently, probably from 1970, 71, with my dad in the Flat Lane, and then when the North Stand became seated, we moved there, and we used to go all the time. You know, I pretty much saw a lot of the miles. I saw Rodney Marsh's debut, the big controversial signing, and I'm trying to think what else. I never understood why the seats in the North Stand were green, though. Nobody could satisfactorily answer me. If you think back, if you look back at historical colour photographs, there's two things about the North Stand. One, there's a woman called Helen who had a beehive who rang a bell that probably signified to the players that they weren't putting enough effort in. And B, they must have got the seats cheap because they were like an olive green. They must have got them off the army or something. You know, it was very typical City to do, you know. I always remember, like, why are these seats this greeny brown colour? Anyway, but I saw Colin. Colin Bell was amazing, and he was the you know, our hero. You know, to United's George Best, and I saw him get injured. It was like a big hush runner over the ground at Derby with Martin Buchan. I've got it in my mind that I saw them running away towards the Platt Lane and I was in the North Stand, but I might be completely making that up. And the tackle came across and it just was horrendous. And then he was out for so long, and I remember him coming back, and it was like really sad because I think he came back, might have been against Newcastle, and everybody was crying, and he came back and he was basically only good enough to play fullback because his knee was like, it was like, I mean, again, these are just my recollections. I might be wrong. I'm sure there's people who are much clearer on the facts, but I do remember those events with Colin Bell. But, you know, I started supporting City at that period where it was normal for us to beat United.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't abnormal then. It became very abnormal for many years if we ever were even in the same league. But for the period, for the period, I when I first got into it, and like you said, when you're at your junior school, and incidentally, and slightly off topic, I went to the same junior school as Rashford. They just had a documentary on it. Button Lane, that was my school. So that's where I started playing football, was there, which was pretty funny seeing it still in that context. But, you know, anyway, we digress. So that's my era, you know, early 70s right through, you know, and Bell kind of, I remember the 74 final against Wolves. We lost in the what's now become the Manchester City Cup. And then and you know, whatever, and then the Newcastle one when we got Stewart, and he was brilliant as well. Actually, Stewart's
absolutely,
he was a phenomenal player as well. Really, you know,
class player, flair player.
Yeah.
He was, I suppose, he was doing his thing when I was just starting to go to games. So my dad and granddad used to take me. This would have been early 80s, probably 1979, 1980, around there. I think Stewart was there at the time.
Didn't he? I think he came back. He was in a very. We had a really good side that missed the league by a point. I think in like there was names like Mick Shannon, Asa Hartford, Peter Barnes. We had a very good team. Dave Watson and some of the and I think Colin Bell had pretty much was done by then. But that era was a good side, a very strong team. And then he was part of that. I think we got him because he was in a Sunderland team that beat us in the cup or something. And he played phenomenal. He played phenomenal, and they beat us in like a quarter final at Main Road. And they might have gone on to win the cup or contest the final against Leeds. Anyway, but Stewart was a great one. But, you know, this week's all about Colin. And like you say, there's legendary players, as Micah Richards said last night. And then there's legendary players that get a stand named after them. And that's pretty much all you got to say on the subject.
I just missed him, like I said, but he was one of my dad's favorite. My dad would never shut up about Bell and Summerby in particular. The only mention of Francis Lee was that I was shaped like him, is what both my parents said.
That's no. I mean, Colin Bell just had kind of the grace, and he was like a box to box. It's like, you know, the comparisons to Kevin De Bruyne are not something that Colin Bell was very comfortable with, because I've seen him when somebody's mentioned it, but because I've met him quite a lot in the last few years, because I go to a lot of City games and I'd meet a lot of the old players, and you know, that are around the club, and they were always great. And he was cool, very humble, almost painfully so, really. You know, he still wasn't. He didn't wear it that easily. I think it was difficult for him. You know, he was uncomfortable. You know, more so than a lot of the other players who are sort of more gregarious and they kind of just tell a few stories. He seemed uncomfortable. Yeah, well, Buzz is great. I haven't got a bad word to say about any of them, really. I mean, I've got nothing but nice things to say about the way I've been treated at City when I've gone there for games and meeting the old players and that.
Fantastic. Well, rest in peace, King of the
Colin
Clipax.
Bell. Yeah.
There's only one. Well, number one is, number two is, right?
Yeah.
We used to sing all these songs at the pub, even in Dallas. You know, I mean, these legends live on in the fans' songs and what have you. So he will live forever in our hearts. And
he was good. I mean, having seen him play in the day, and I was admittedly a kid. He was part of a great team in the same way that Kevin is part of a great team, and there are other great players, and there were great players around Colin Bell, but he still stood out. You know what I mean? That's not to denigrate the other players, Bell, Lee, Summerby, Young, Coleman, whatever, you know, Buck, Pardo, Mike Doyle, you know, all of them, Heslop. I remember that whole team, but, you know, they were like a collective, and they really worked as a team, that City side, 68, you know, through to like 71.
And he used to beat United regularly.
It was commonplace. It wasn't that a big deal. I mean, really.
So let's talk about another one.
Another one to the list. Yeah,
another beating of United at Old Trafford. Joey, how do you want to talk about this, mate?
We'll do the lineup real quick just to remind people, and then we'll kind of talk about how we felt going into it. And then I don't know. I'm just gonna say how we feel about the performance, I guess. Yeah, who cares? We're chatting with freaking Billy Duffy. I'm not gonna have a script to this. So before the game lineup comes out, we've got Stefan in goal, Cancelo, Stones, Diaz, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, De Bruyne, Gundogan, and then Sterling, Mahrez, and Foden. Mulv has seen me before derbies a lot. Billy, I'll let you know how it is for me, and I think a lot of City fans probably go through the same thing, where a few days out. So when we did our preview for the match, I was flying pretty high. You know, I was like, "Yo, we're gonna get. You know, we'll be fine. We'll beat them." You know,
coming off the Chelsea win,
yeah, we're in great form. This, that, and the other. Then day of, I wake up and I hate it so much. Don't want to watch the match. I wish I could fast forward through it. And as we get closer to when the lineups come out, it's just more and more dread. So like I start looking at the road, like, can I go lay in the road? Like I want to do anything to avoid anything that's going to happen. Lineup comes out, and for once I was like kind of okay with it. I wasn't. Normally I start picking it apart if it's a derby match. I'm like, oh no, they're going to get behind us somehow, or like this guy's going to be terrible. This time I didn't feel like that. I still didn't want to watch the match at all. I was still freaking out, but at least I felt okay about the lineup, and I think I still felt somewhere deep in me, even through all the fear, that we were going to win. It was a weird run in.
That is weird for you.
It was strange, dude. I didn't like it. Like, I'd rather just be scared. I think I'd rather just not be happy about anything, and then the match makes me happy. How are you feeling about this thing, Mulv?
Me? Pretty fine. I knew he was going to play a strong lineup.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I didn't know Bernardo wasn't available. He was
That was
suspended
news to me
apparently.
too. Yeah.
And I thought when I saw the lineup, we're going to really miss his industry, you know. But no, I felt good. Felt good about it. How about you, Billy? How do you just briefly about derbies? Do they excite you? Do they scare you?
I can relate a lot to what both of you have said. I sometimes peek from out behind the sofa, you know, unless we're 4-0 up and there's 3 minutes to go, then I can start relaxing. Honestly, I've done all of those things. I have to. It's a weird thing of times when I wouldn't even watch the game live, even though I could, because I was too terrified of the torture of it if it didn't go well. And you know, statistically, it's hard to break those habits of years, and it's a weird situation. But yeah, I can relate to the fear and all that stuff. I was I in this particular game, it's a weird thing. I was somewhat ambivalent. It's very difficult to know. United to me didn't really show up. And that's been the story of this, the kind of the league this year is teams suddenly just seem that they're all, one day they'll be fantastic and the next game that they just won't click, it won't work for them. You know, even if they put the sweat in, it just doesn't happen. And that's what I felt when I was watching United yesterday. You know, City were very strong. Chelsea were unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But I was looking at Chelsea thinking that they didn't click. I've seen them play much better than that. You know, I think City played phenomenally, and I think what Guardiola often refers to as the rhythm is how we really beat and dominate teams.
Yeah.
It's like all the parts of a clock going together. We need it all to gel and everybody to be playing to the same kind of, singing off the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same tempo.
Yeah, the whole thing. Like if you can have a couple of guys have great games, but if a couple of guys don't, that can be very detrimental to the way City play. You need everybody to be on point. And yesterday and against Chelsea, you know, I felt every single player did their job to the best of their ability. You know.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah. People have asked me. I just thought it was a very professional, assured performance from City. You know.
Mistake-free football. That's what we talk about on our show. And
it just felt like we were cruising. You know, like I think once the first goal went in, it felt like we were just going to ride it out. It wasn't one of those things, and I think a lot of it's down to how great our back line's been. But it wasn't one of those deals.
That's an amazement.
We started freaking out because we scored.
Well, yeah, it's an amazing. You know, what is it? 9 games have conceded 1 goal, which was, you know, pretty stupid against Chelsea. Really, I think we all had the same expression all over the world watching that, going, "Oh, come on, Zinchenko, put your arm down. You lost the yard. You know, there's 15 seconds to go. You know, just whatever. Anyway." So that's the one you know, not the 8 other clean sheets. It's phenomenal the way that the back line. I mean, Diaz has really helped. You know, it's bizarre how Laporte went from, you know, to be non-essential very quickly. Yeah. That's a bit of a bizarre one. I'm not really sure what the backstory is on that. You know, I know he's a little bit injured, but he was definitely benched for quite a while after Spurs.
I think the thing is, you just can't argue with it, can you? I mean, the streak that we're on with those two Stones and Diaz. I mean, you know, I feel for Laporte, but he's being outplayed at the moment, and you know, he says he's inconsequential at the moment, but he could become quite consequential very quickly if one of those two were to pick something up. You know, I just think it's phenomenal that we've got we're so deep at centre back at the moment, and this is one of the things that happens when you ask for more strength at a position and then you get it. You can't immediately then, you know, complain about a player who's not playing. You know, you can't be taking it too, so to speak. So
it's
a good problem to have, I think.
yeah, I mean, he was such an assured player, and he really was very much a part of how we distributed the ball from the back, Laporte, and it's interesting that we've managed so well, and and then you sit thinking, going, yeah, well, I don't think I'm ever going to really outthink Pep Guardiola in the world of football. So,
He thinks he can. He does.
You might, hey,
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. But you think, nah, he's too obsessive, Pep.
He really is. Like
You know,
it's a little it's maybe crazy.
in a
I
good
mean,
way. Yeah, it really is.
So we certainly controlled it, but they where did you feel their biggest threat came from, Joe? Because there's a one player in particular that worried me throughout the 90 minutes.
Honestly, I thought they were pretty poor. I wasn't really worried about any of going into the match. It was everyone had to worry about Bruno, but he didn't really show up. I don't think.
Fernandinho
Pogba,
pocketed him.
Yeah, Pogba, crap, but like that's not new. Martial, I don't know. I throughout the whole match, honestly, I wasn't worried about any of their attacking players. It just felt like they weren't up for the match. It felt like City was. I don't know. We mentioned earlier it was professional. I mean, it felt like City showed up and knew what the result was going to be beforehand, and also United knew beforehand what it was going to be.
Wow.
It's just like, okay, one of us is going to win this, not United. And
You
I mean,
guys
even
are
after
further
City
down on
scored,
United than I am. I thought United were decent, to be fair.
I thought
No,
they
no,
were
no.
crap.
I'm in the middle. I'll be the lukewarm water between you two. I didn't think they were. I don't believe they were crap. I just think I can't really describe when a team just doesn't click. They're
Yeah.
not particularly bad, and the key player for United is Bruno Fernandes. The three United fan friends that I have in my life, who we can have intelligent discourse about football, we all agree. If he's, my tactic against when United was starting to beat us, I was like, all you need to do is just get somebody to go and kick him a few times,
Yeah.
and that will win the game because he'll just get mad and lose his cool. And that's my 70s guide to football management. Go and kick Bruno Fernandes a lot. He'll get dead mad, lose his rag.
For me,
when he's on song, I mean, he makes them tick. I mean, it's clear.
Absolutely.
It's clear. And he just wasn't. He had a bad game. And then the rest of them didn't really rise up, which is, I think, a different sort of few commentators were mentioning, if Kevin DB has a so-so game, there are other players in our team who will try and shoulder some of the burden. Whereas I think with United, I don't see that much. I don't see either the players haven't got the quality in the side that they've got, or the players who have the quality don't really have the get up, and they just don't want to seem to grab this game by the scruff of the neck.
Right.
It was Rashford for me.
It was Rashford, really?
I was convinced Rashford was getting in behind Zinchenko.
I think that's just because it's Zinchenko, like there's always this little bit of a fear when he's over there that like he's gonna get done by somebody.
He looks like, I know he's not, what is he, 24, 25? He
Isn't
looks
he?
like the youngest player in the team, but he's not. But it looks to me like he's I don't want to say the weak link, but he's the kid who's like just trying really hard to keep up with the bigger kids.
Yeah.
He's just he's scrappy, and
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. We all know he's playing out of position. He's got no pace to be playing left back against the front three of Man United. But I think the job that Fernandinho did on Bruno is one of the stories of the game, and Bruno is likely to be the one dropping that ball into Rashford behind Zinchenko.
Mm-hmm.
And Fernandinho just locked him up and wouldn't let him do it for large parts of the game. So I thought he was outstanding.
Rashford, my alumni, sadly, he was the one I was worried about, and he got his one chance, and then our super new centre half just cut out the thing, and it was just great to see the whole team spirit at the final whistle, and there seems to be a true bond with the players, and the things you want to see as a fan when your team plays, when they get a good result, you want to see them react like that, and they're playing for each other, and they're not individuals out there, sort of. I remember a very telling comment once by Richard Dunn. Remember the Dunny monster?
Oh, hell
yeah, back in the day, and we used to, God bless him, and we used to watch, and he'd say, there was times when he was at City where if he personally had a good game and the team had lost, he'd be perfectly happy to go home and have his tea and a couple of jars, and I was like, and that is not the attitude you want. You want people to be violently ill if your team lose. You don't want to lose at tiddlywinks, never mind,
This guy was having jars at half time, if I remember.
Yeah, then he stopped. Then he stopped. Though I think he found the light. I think he found light, and he markedly improved as a result of that. I believe.
He carried us at the back for a few years, didn't he?
Yeah. No, he was great, Donny. He was great, but that attitude, players who are just. Oh, well, I had an okay game, whatever.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, the attitude and the kind of camaraderie that you saw when Stone scores.
Mm-hmm.
If there would have been fans in the stadium for that, scenes, limbs everywhere, people would be upside down, falling out of the. I mean, I think there was a collective shout that just went up across the world for anybody in a blue shirt, because I think Johnny's the kind of the story of the season, but then to see how happy all the other guys were for him to, against United, huge game, hasn't scored in 3 years, finally getting back into rhythm, bangs one in with his whatever he banged it in with.
Manhood, yes. Manhood.
Yeah.
I mean, but seeing the guys rally around him for that, I don't think we've seen that for a couple of years. It was so refreshing to see just everyone pumped up. Pep even smiled, which was kind of cool. Haven't seen that a ton.
It's quite unbelievable to see the improvement. I mean, I remember when Stones had a decent run in the team maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was this good, but he was pretty good. I mean, but it's been so long. And I think, not that it's any of my business, but I do think there's a classic case of his personal life was the biggest reason why he went. People like, why did John Stones go so bad? Well, it kind of coincides with some off-field personal life stuff. I remember him being interviewed once. He played some game. I was like, he looks like he's got a double chin. How can you have a double chin when you got a physique like that? And
I'm right here, dude.
Hey,
We're right here, Billy.
What? Yeah. Well, you're not training 5 days a week, 7 days a week. I'm playing games. I'd have a dietitian. Do you have a dietitian up in Cleveland?
I mean, there's probably some, but I ain't seen them.
You definitely get one.
Yeah.
That's great. Billy, do you want to pick out anybody else from the game who you were impressed with?
Well, I really felt it was a collective effort. I really think. I mean, Foden is coming on leaps and bounds. I was going, who whipped that free kick in? Because I couldn't really see. That was a pretty good free kick from the young man. He's playing many good games now, Foden. So that's nice to see how he's been brought on. All of them, really. I mean, we have a lot of players that seem to want to take the game to the opposition and to try and score, even if they fail miserably. They'll keep going. Cancelo's a big success story. I'm a big fan of his. I remember when we bought him, I looked back at some of the games he played for Juventus. I was like, wow, that is some fullback.
Yeah.
And then he kind of struggled, and we were talking about getting rid of him. I'm like, what? Hold on a minute. He can't go that bad in,
6 months.
Manchester can't have it. Yeah, less than 6 months. I mean, the guy was, phenomenal.
Yeah,
Sounds like you've got a Serie A buddy in Billy Duffy there, Joey.
I know.
I watch it sometimes. Yeah. I don't. Sometimes, I generally had a bit of an interest.
Yeah.
The joke
but
on our show is that I basically only watch City, and he'd watch two squirrels kicking a nut to each other if it was on telly.
Right. Yeah, well, I won't watch. Yeah, I won't watch a full Serie A game. I did have
tough.
a lot of Italian mates in California, and I had a lot of interest. And who's your Italian team there, Joey? Who do you like?
Inter.
Inter's your team. That's interesting.
Yeah, because when I was little, the only Ronaldo that I acknowledge was there.
Yes,
and
that guy.
When you're a little kid, growing up, and you're just starting to play the sport, and then you watch that guy, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well that's who I want to be now. I'm not going to get the whatever dickhead haircut that was, where it was just right here.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to get that, but I'll try to run real fast like him and score goals.
Sure.
But he was there, so then I started liking them. And I actually got to see him in person in Dallas, or see Inter play in Dallas. I guess a decade ago now, right after they won the right after they won the Champions League. Rafa Benitez had taken the job, so he had brought them over on a preseason. So I got to see like Balotelli, Coutinho when they were younger, and I got to see Zanetti and Cambiaso and all those huge names that were in that side. Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool, and they've had a long history of just players that are fun to watch. So kind of stick with them and keep my eye on them every once in a while.
I thought it was actually quite impressive who City won this game without. To be fair, I mean, I always say that Edison is he'd be the first name on the team sheet for me for the way that we play, and I thought Zach Steffen was fantastic.
USA.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But yeah, we won it without a recognized striker, without our first team goalkeeper. Yeah. I mean, we won it with a left back.
Yeah, and Cancelo playing wherever the hell he was playing. It was funny listening to it was Peter Drury, wasn't it?
I think it was Drury, yeah.
Yeah. And he had brought up Cancelo's position. He goes, what Pep Guardiola has done with Cancelo, I don't know what it is. I don't know what position he's playing. I've never seen a fullback. None of us have ever seen a fullback play that position. But whatever he's doing is obviously working, because no one can seem to figure it out, and he's always in space.
Yeah. But he can defend.
Oh yeah,
and that's the thing. He's not, it's not at the cost of his defense. He can do a decent job.
Yeah.
At the back, I've never seen him be made a mug of. In his defensive, side of his game. So that's the thing. Because I remember when we had what's the guy, Angelino, right? Who's he's pulling up trees with Leipzig.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, but he just didn't click at City. He couldn't. His defensive side of his game, to me, wasn't strong enough. He's and that's a worry. You need, the number one job's to defend, really.
Yeah,
and the rest of it's obviously a bonus for elite level football. You look at Liverpool. For the most part, their fullbacks have good games, apart from recently. But generally, I mean, Robertson, has been a phenomenon. The way the elite football teams need good fullbacks. I mean, it's become such a thing.
Yeah.
Now, they like incredible lung capacity. Defensively sound, yet they can know when to get up and deliver great. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how Guardiola won it with what, Fabian Delph, Zinchenko.
I know. It's incredible.
That's just Pep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's push it forward a bit. Yes. So
right.
2-0 City through to Wembley once again.
Mm-hmm.
The Etihad South. How are we feeling about Tottenham Hotspur and Jose Mourinho in the final? What are you saying first, Joey?
I'm ready for it. I'm thirsty. Drooling. I want to smack him around. I want revenge for the 2-0. We'll see kind of what if City's form carries on. I think that could be a real beating. If the back line keeps playing the way they are, I don't even get into whether or not if a certain somebody gets healthy again and can find a little bit of form before that match.
True.
We won't speak his name yet in order to not jinx it. But
Nathan
the way things are going, that's right. Nathan Ake is who I was talking about. No, just the way things are going now, and the media is going to big up. Obviously, it's Mourinho and Pep, but they're going to big up the 2-0 last time we saw them. And I want to take that result and jam it down their throats and lift the trophy for however many times in a row that is, because it's hilarious to me that we keep ending up doing this.
We would go level with Liverpool for consecutive League Cup titles. Apparently, they were decent in the 80s and won it 4 times in a row. Now, you did hear that they've pushed this final back into April, yeah?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our form at that point is, hard to predict.
Right.
And it's going to be smack in the middle of hopefully a lot of other, competitions. So.
Yeah, all of the rest of them.
Yeah, it's a long way to go before that. But we'll kick it over to you, Billy. How are you feeling about playing Jose at Wembley for the 4th League Cup in a row?
I think we do owe them a bit of a payback. For there's been a few games where Spurs have definitely unravelled us a little bit. City, apart from that bizarre Leicester City game at home, 3 penalties. Well, you'll never see Ake and Garcia starting again together unless we're playing, Marine. But I think Spurs, the way that they pick you off, they do have 2 incredibly talented strikers and a very solid team, and we all know what Jose does, and we all know it's really a question of whether our players can, impress upon them our style and not fall to the sucker punch.
Yeah.
Which is how they've played us on several occasions. It's I hate to use the phrase bogey team, but they're a little bit of a bogey team for City. So I'm not as bullish as you are, but it's so far ahead. I mean, who knows, how things could happen. I mean, they beat us last year at Spurs 2-0, didn't they? Gundogan missed the penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, saved or whatever when we were going through our penalty miss phase, which hopefully we have now, that's another whole topic of conversation of the games that we miss penalties in, and the games that we could afford to miss penalties in and we don't, and the games we shouldn't miss penalties in, we do, when it would really matter to score that penalty. We seem to come up short, which is a bit of a worry. Anyhow, Spurs. I think with Jose, you have to be an interesting battle of philosophies, because they're going to be those 2 philosophies.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see individual mistakes. I think it'll come down to fine margins, and we'll see. And also who can keep their players fit.
Yeah.
With those, I mean, if you take out Son and Kane and you put in Moura and Bergwijn, is it Bergwijn?
We'll allow it.
There's one they got from Ajax. Whatever. They're not City players, so I'm not going to really spend too long worrying about. The Dutch fellow who scored on his debut, yawn, against us, yawn.
Always.
After Gundogan missed the penalty, yawn. After we played them off the park. And we still lost. And the best team really did lose in that game.
Yeah.
Last season's 2-0 loss at Spurs, that by a million miles the best team lost. It was bizarre. Anyway, I'm not quite as bullish. I'd like to see us beat them, and I would like revenge for 1981. I go back that far. So
That's one I
I'd
do
like
remember.
a little bit of revenge. But they won a trophy.
Yeah.
Is that the last one? Sorry. No, my best mate at that time in England, when I lived in England, he was a Spurs fan, so I never heard the end of that one.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're right. I think you're right, Billy. It's going to depend a lot on injuries at that time of the season, because depending on what other competitions we're in, if we're going through a little bit of an injury crisis, we might have to be careful with the lineup on the day. Because we might be looking at quote unquote more important matches, whether it be Champions League or who knows how tight the league's going to be end of April. So yeah, long way to
Do you
go.
think Pep does that though? Have you ever? I mean, has he ever fielded what you would consider to be a weakened? I suppose in the League Cup, in its normal position in the season, it's not as critical.
Right.
So it's a bit of a mute point, really. He in February.
The only one that comes to mind is, are you still there, Billy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, sorry. The only one that comes to mind is when I think it was the first leg of the Champions League quarter-final against Spurs, where he left KDB and Sane on the bench until the last couple of minutes. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And we lost that 1-0, I think.
Was that the handball one?
Lost 1-0.
No,
another
it was the same one, but the first leg of it. Yeah. He rested Kevin DB and Sane in that.
Yeah.
And but that's the only one I can think of. So what I'm saying is, in general, you're right. He doesn't play weakened teams. I'm just curious, what our squad will look like in terms of fitness at end of April and where we are in the other comps.
Yeah.
I would say this. I would say this about City though. We tend to finish strong. I think that's borne out in fact that as seasons go on, we don't fall away. We actually improve. So that's on the plus column. I think the last time he fielded a weakened team in the League Cup, we lost to United. He put the kids out at Old Trafford.
Right.
That was the last game we've lost in this competition, which was 2016.
One matter.
And we lost at Old Trafford. Yeah. And I think we put a load of kids out and we lost.
Who was that
1-0
right
at Old
back?
Trafford.
You loved him, Joey. The young right back. He had an absolute hell of a game, and we let him go the next week.
Luke Bolton?
No, I think he's Spanish, little Spanish right back.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Pablo Maffeo.
Pablo
Maffeo had the game of his life in that League Cup, and he was gone within months of it.
I think he's in Germany now.
Is
I'm
he?
pretty sure. I think. Hanover?
Hey, let's wrap this up. It's been really great having Billy Duffy on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, can City win this title? Since while we've got him, let's ask for some bold predictions for the remainder of the season. Where are we, Billy? Can we win the league? Can we win anything else as well?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think we're as good as anybody else at this point in the season. I will be bullish on that based upon what I've seen in the last couple of games. If we can put a run together, and I think if the system, the well-oiled machine remains well-oiled, then absolutely we shouldn't fear anybody at this point in the league. And again, we've started to beat teams technically above us. We were a bit like the flat track bullies for a while there. It's all well and good beating Watford 7-0 or whatever, but let's beat the teams who are above us, in tough, tight games where you can't make mistakes. And that was where City, my only bad feeling about City was we'd occasionally, score hatfuls of goals against clearly inferior opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So I with the Chelsea result in United, hopefully we can carry that forward, It's about time somebody beat Liverpool at Anfield, isn't it?
Indeed. Yes.
Won't be us.
Well, I mean, again, don't get me started on penalties because,
that one still hadn't come down.
Yeah, I know. That's orbiting the Jupiter.
Still won the league.
Hell
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. That just would have been the cherry on the icing.
True. Take us home, Joey.
Well, yeah, why not?
Love it.
All right.
Love it.
Billy Duffy says we're going to win the league. Hell yeah. Man, oh man, this has been very surreal. So thank you, Billy, for agreeing to come on this thing and talk to us for a while. This has been really cool. Before we get out of here, is there anything that you want to plug? Do you have anything going on? Is there anything you want to tell the folks about, where they can find you online, all that kind of stuff?
Oh no, people know where to find me if they need me. I try.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird time for everybody. The band, the Cults. We're writing new music. Whenever that'll come out, I don't know. We're just doing some stuff. I have a fun little side. Speaking of Man United, I have a fun little side band that's completely for laugh. I do with Mike Peters for the Alarm, who's a big red. So he was the first to congratulate City yesterday. Funnily enough, quite generous of him after the final whistle. So I've got a little band with him called Crosstown that we do from time to time. We did one album in 1998. And then we've just got another one in the can, so hopefully that'll come out. But I'm just trying to keep sane like everybody else. What can you say? Crazy, strange days indeed, gentlemen. So
100%.
All right.
Well, this was a real pleasure. Yeah. Can we
is
do
the
this
best.
again? You reckon?
Yeah, always. Get me back when
Maybe we
we
can
won the
have
league.
you and our mutual friend on at the same time. That'd be something else, wouldn't it?
Mr. Ma, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The funny thing, we always used to say, me and him, we weren't even the best guitar players in our neighborhood. Growing up.
Who else was there?
Well, there's a couple of other guys who are much better than us, but one ended up doing roofs, and it's not always about being quite the best. Is what I'm saying. I think but me and Johnny,
we know that very well.
Yeah. What I mean? It's me and John. But yeah, me and Johnny we do go back a long way. Early 70s, mid 70s in South Manchester. And he's about, I think Johnny's about 3 years younger than me, maybe 3 or 4 years younger than me. So he was the young kid that would come and hang out and watch my high school band rehearse in a little thing, and he would just come along. He was always cool and hung out, and so we go back to pre-punk, really.
Did you play football with him? Which one of you is better?
Oh, Johnny's better than me. Only much later in life, he's a wiry right winger, and he was very good. I was a questionable left back. I was a bit like a Man City left back. I wasn't another.
Would you
I'd like
compare
to say
him to?
collar off, but I couldn't really shoot that well. Johnny, I don't know. He's like get this. The only time we ever played football together was not that long ago, within the last 10 years, because his son, school team. The school he went to, this is a funny story. His PE teacher was actually the goalie from my high school team, right? And he was teaching Johnny's son. So they had a staff football team at this school in South Manchester in Cheadle Hulme. And so one night, me and Johnny went, and we turned out for the staff team with my old school goalie, Pete, who was Johnny Marr's son's teacher, and that was it. Yeah, Johnny was very good, nippy winger,
like a Neymar, like a bit of a diva.
No, not at all. No, not diva-ish. No. More because he's quite slight, Johnny. He's not a big individual. So he would be more like the wiry type of winger, you know, he'd have to like, you know, escape the lunging tackles from the fullback trying to put him in the third row.
Leroy Sané then. Leroy Sané. I know he loved Leroy.
I'm trying to think. Oh, he loved Leroy. Yeah, I think he had a man crush on Leroy.
Yeah, he told us.
You know. You know, yeah. Well, you know, he's, you know, but yeah. So, but Johnny was good. I think Johnny even had trials for. He might have even got. I think he told me he might have had a trial for Nottingham Forest boys. I don't know. So it was, you know, but rock and roll. You know, rock and roll takes over, really.
Yeah, thank God
You
it
know.
did.
That's pretty much my life motto.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, rock
All
and
right,
roll
Billy.
took over.
Thank you so much, pal. This was really fun.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Billy.
Gentlemen, yeah. Next time I'll come on and we'll give you a visual. I just was not ready for my close-up.
No worries.
Noisy neighbours.
Man, oh man. We have a next time. We have a next
old
time
school.
from Billy Duffy.
Yeah,
I'll take it. That's a win.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I love talking City. Gentlemen,
yes.
We do.
it's been a pleasure. Take care.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thanks everybody for listening.
All right, cheers,
At
guys.
NoisyPod, NoisyPod.com. We'll see you. Ciao.
Ta-ra.